My baby is back at home. They wanted to keep her. Look at all the marks they put all over my car. This is crazy. They wanted to keep it. They were ready to clean the windshield. All of this stuff. Look at this crap. I was trying to keep my ride. I mean, the wheels that's on there, I'm at least going to keep my original wheels and put the factory ones back on. And they was really reluctant about that. And I'm just like, you know what? Forget this. I did some searching around. Didn't come up with anything that I liked for the price. And I'm like, no way. We have to keep this. I already have a 4.0 T block. Complete 4.0 T engine, as well as a 4.2 V8 original style CAUA engine, if that's the proper engine code. Don't quote me wrong. I may have said something probably for VR6 or something, but anyway, I think it's CAUA. But either way, I have a block that's already been sleeved, heads that's been prepped and ready to reassemble, and forged pistons, forged rods. I already have a engine that I can build and put into this thing, so I just can't let this go. If I let it go for something else, then we have to start all over, and I'll have this engine that'll be void of a future project. So let's complete this thing. Let's rebuild it, get the thing looking halfway decent again with a new fender, new bumper, make it look a little bit better than it did, and keep progressing forward. Put my KW version 3s on there, load this bad boy down. I already have sway bars on there. So let's get this thing right. It appears that I looked up, found some pretty good parts today. Came here is an Audi A5, 2012 Audi A5. And I was looking, or am looking, for the right headlight support bracket, and it appears to still be here. Not sure if it's in as good as condition as I was like, because it looked like someone may have epoxied and tried to rivet some stuff right in here with a rivet defender into here. But over in this section, my headlight support bracket is cracked. We'll remove this headlight, take a look, and see the condition of this unit. About to get disappointed, but we look good. I took out the bolts that supported this. This is a part of the bumper itself that ripped off. So under that, this is the piece that I'm looking for right here. So it appears to be in good condition for the most part. I think we may be in business. Let's go ahead and lift this radiator up from weighting it down and go ahead and pull it out. So we have it off and the piece looks good. I was searching around. Unfortunately, I could not find a passenger side one. You can get the driver side ones new for pretty much as cheap as 60 to 70 bucks. Unfortunately, this right side passenger, this was going, a used one of these was going for 170 bucks. And I'm like, this is crazy. The newer ones were even cheaper, but for this particular chassis, it was a lot more expensive. But look like I may have lucked up, and we may be in business to getting the S5 built back up and put back together. I had this particular item, the right headlight support, in my shopping cart, and the cheapest I could find it, a complete assembly like this, was for $170 used in my shopping cart. The driver's side, they've gotten so cheap, you probably can pick up just this bracket right here for the driver's side for I think 60 bucks, and this tray you can probably get this for, I think I found this as cheap as like $25 to $30 for the center tray right here. But this is the whole assembly right here, and I wanted that whole complete assembly. Mine is cracked in a couple different locations. It's cracked right here, and I think it cracked right where the tray mounts in. But $8, I lucked up, and I had one in my shopping cart for $170. So that was a major deal. This is my passenger side replacement fender. Hopefully this will fit pretty good. They were rated to have some good replacement parts, but we'll see how this fits on the car. Well, I have a big delivery, and this would be a RS5 style looking front bumper for the S5. Let's get this baby in the house. Any of that. I wanted a ABS style plastic bumper similar to the OE bumper, and this turned out great. I mean, this bumper is nice and durable, and they claim it's an excellent fit. So we'll get an opportunity to see, but just the fact that it's a good ABS plastic, I am so. Let's open this box and take a look at the grill and see what type of grill they sent for it. This is it. This is nice. This is the grill I wanted. I wasn't sure if this grill was going to come with the package, and I was going to order another identical grill just like this for additional $300 or $400 from, I think it was a little bit over $300 off of eBay. You can actually put the Quattro emblem right in this lower section right here to give it a different appearance. Nice. This is what I wanted. This is nice. Yes. I was actually also searching for this piece last night. This part that snaps in to the core support. Yeah, it's all attached. So this is great. So we're going to replace some parts that was damaged in a fender bender that I'm not too happy about. But I literally purchased a new fender, front bumper cover, and grill assembly, as well as some headlight covers. So let's start swapping out some of these parts, see how we can get this bad boy looking, and then repaint it. I have the vehicle jacked up, and it appears that my most challenging part of this whole swap over may end up being the swapping out of the fender. What I would truly like to do while I have the vehicle up is I do have new suspension bushings for the front. I still may replace those parts, as well as I would like to swap over my suspension shocks. I have some KW version 3s, pretty nice suspension, and I may hold off on that for the simple fact that I still will have to have the vehicle painted, the front end and the fender, and I don't want my car left at a body shop or put in the hands of some other shop that I'm unfamiliar with, and my suspension components or vehicle disappear with quite a bit of value, dollars worth of suspension placed on a vehicle. So we'll possibly hold off on that. Shop did pretty well. They saved me some extra time and effort. They took the 2 lower screws out right there, which is good. And if I'm not mistaken, it's a plastic liner right here, cover. I'm gonna have to pull that forward and out, and I think it may be 2 more bolts, 2 or 3 more bolts behind here, and we should be able to remove the fender. This plastic guard, it came out fairly easy. It had these little pins in here that locks it in place. From the inside of the vehicle, it's probably a little difficult to see, but I opened the door and pushed right through here. Let's see if we can get a better look. Yeah, right in here and up through the top right here. I pushed on the inside, and I pushed those little press pins out with the plastic grommets. And then I have a remaining screw at the top, and under that plastic cover there was 2 more screws that I already removed right here, and that should take the fender out. The top is a few more screws that they left in here, and I unscrewed this cap right here so I can lift up the cover, and there's another bolt right there. Removing these remaining screws, I should be able to pull the fender pretty much right off the vehicle. We have our fender off and our replacement fender. Let's unpackage that and get prepped to put this on. I took the air gun and blew all the dust from up under the fender well and then the door troughs. What I would really love to do is replace my suspension bushings. I have hardware and replacement parts that I ordered to replace all of these bushings that are wore out right up under here, and these upper ones you can see where it's cracking and stuff like that. These are wore out pretty good. I do have also the KW version 3s. I like to swap these out while I have all of this off, but I do not want to take a chance and replace all these parts, stick the car in the shop to have it prepped and painted, and only to have something happen where I don't receive my car back or something. Some of these shops in certain areas you have to be careful, and I don't want to take any chances, so I'd rather take my wheels off. On my original fender, I'm gonna have to remove these two supports right here, drive out these rivets and install that on my replacement fender. Unfortunately, the replacement didn't come with these supports. Also, I'll take off this inner plastic guard and put that in position also. Okay, the fitment's not too bad. Somewhat pretty good, and by being a dark color, that'll pretty much hide any type of large gaps. But for the most part, the door gap is still pretty good for the most part and allow good room for opening. I have the top supports a little snug towards the back. That's nice. And then I have the bolt missing from up the front. But we're looking for fairly good as far as any type of gaps. Nothing super large or extraordinary. Not too bad. So I still have to install the lower screws down on the inside of the fender at the bottom, but I do not have time to do that right now because my clock went off. I have to attend an event, so I have to go inside, put on a suit, and get ready to go. Today is S5 today. I have the S5 jacked up in preparation to swap out the suspension bushings. A lot of my original bushings on the car is worn and cracked, and when I go to brake under hard braking, I'm getting a little premature steer when I'm hitting the brakes. So we're going to swap this out, and I'm still on the edge with possibly replacing the original shocks with my KW version 3 coilover suspension while I have this torn apart. So haven't made a definite decision yet, but we'll see. So the verdict is in. As you can see, I decided to go ahead and prep for the installation of the KW suspension. This suspension's for the A5, RS5, and S5 versions of the B8 Audi. And of course you can see my RS5 style looking front bumper. Let's take a look in this box. I have not opened this thing possibly in maybe 5 or 6 years easily. So we have our toolkit. There's the babies right there. So I am pretty certain our S5 will handle a lot better with this suspension on there. And granted, the fact that I already have some aftermarket front and rear sway bars on here, so this would only assist in making that thing handle pretty good. So yeah, let's get set up, start replacing the bushings, and while I have the bushing control arms off, get set up to put these babies on there. Let's do this. Plans are to, of course, replace my damaged front bumper, but I may delay that slightly since I've replaced my fender. I already have the fender lining out, and initially my plan was to, before I got into a fender bender, some nice young lady decided to speed pass and clip the front of my car, but that's a whole nother story. But either way, I replaced my front fender. Insurance covered the damages, but either way, I replaced my front fender and I bought new fender liners, and since I have those out, my suspension bushings are worn out. And as you can see the upper bushings are cracked up in there. And let's turn the light on to get a little bit better look. You can see those bushings are cracked and definitely worn out, and they've had their better days. So since I'm in the process of replacing all of these parts up here, needless to say, I'm surrounding my upper struts, and I'm undecided, but I have some KW version 3 coilovers that's been sitting on the shelf for at least 5 years. They were initially for my other S5, and I did not put them on it. That was an automatic and got totaled. No, that was a 6-speed manual, and that got totaled. So I picked up this dual clutch, which I kind of wanted to, because since I commuted quite a bit, shifting gears back and forth, especially up there with the diesel, shifting gears isn't that fun in constant stop and go traffic. So I have this with the DSG 7-speed automatic, and this is great. Accelerates good, no missing gears. It's been performing great. Back to the suspension. Do we put on the KW version 3s? Brush the dust off the KWs and pull them off the shelf. So it's a green light. So I already started prepping to get to the bolts for the top section for removing the suspension. And yeah, I have my cover loose. Put these clips back in place so we don't lose them. We'll remove this whole upper trough. And ooh-wee, look at all the junk and debris that's down in there. So we're going to clean all of that out. We're definitely going to vacuum this stuff out of there. That is a mess. And we're going to go ahead and replace this whole box of bushings and links. We'll have some nice stiff suspension on there and put the KWs on here as well. Now, this is something that I've always disliked about working on a lot of the Volkswagen Audi vehicles when it comes to the hardware into the aluminum. This steel bolt is seized into this support, and it's in there. I loosened up my nut, and the bolt don't want to shift, and I used a breaker bar to try to twist this just a little bit, even though the nut is loose, and I don't want to snap the head of this off. So I used a huge maul, loosened up my nut and pounded, and managed to get it to shift out a little bit. So I'm spraying lubricant in here, penetrant, as well as tapping on it, spray a little penetrant in here. That's why it's all wet right there. And next step is to also heat this up and try to get this to come loose without snapping the bolt off in this upper support and then having to purchase one of these also. So that would be a pain in the butt. So let's heat this up and continue with the process and see if we can get this bolt out of here. A little extra heat appears to have worked. So as you can see, the bolt is actually starting to come out some. I'm backing off on the nut, and I managed to, when I heated it up, I put a little force on there to try to twist it out with my breaker bar, and slowly it's coming out. So I'm backing off on this nut right here, and I'm slowly ratcheting it and lubricating it at the same time, and it appears that we're able to thread this nut out. So I'm also using backing the nut off and using it as a reference to make sure my bolt is actually coming out. I'll create a little gap right there and slowly start cranking and continue to crank, and you can hear this baby is in there nice and tight, and my gap is slowly starting to close up as my bolt makes his way out. A lot of muscle, tedious and time consuming, but I don't want to snap this off in here. And of course I can use a impact gun, which I have over here also. I just don't want to take a chance and mess anything up. So maybe I'll give it a shot, give it a slight little buzz, but I don't want that extra sudden torque and force from the impact to snap the head of the bolt off, and then it'd be not game over, but it'd be a pain in the ass, needless to say. Okay, we're making some good progress. So now let's see if we can get the impact and make it the rest of the way. I'm gonna get my wrench and stick my wrench right here and put my impact on there and preload it and try to force it out with driving forward. I rotated my steering wheel to the left so that way I can get a better angle. I've seen a few other people using like a flex head swivel, you know, and kept the steering wheel straight. So I'm just gonna go direct on here with my impact like this. And if I have to use a flex head, I'll use the flex head also, but see if we can get this bolt started to make its way out. Let's give it a shot and see what's happening. It worked, and I got it out of there. I used my impact ratchet and slowly rotated it and got my wrench to force with it, and we got it out of there. So needless to say, that's great. We got it out without shearing off the head of it. Now let's go ahead and get these links removed from here. This is crazy. The time that it took to get this bolt out, I should have already had probably the shock off the car. But that's what happens. In my opinion, it would have been nice if the hardware was galvanized or something to prevent them from seizing up into these aluminum arms. But that happens quite often. If you've worked on a lot of Volkswagen and Audis with aluminum ball bearings, joints, fittings, anything like that, wheel bearings, you've come across a wheel bearing bolt that's seized up in the aluminum housing or something like that. So either way, we got it out. Let's continue to move forward. Yes, unfortunately, this is fighting me the whole way. Well, I hope I'll have good results when I finish all of this. Yes, it'll be worth it. I know it will, but that's while I'm persevering through this. Yeah, I had the bolt out, and you can see the oxidation and corrosion that was around this joint. So I loosened up the joint itself, brought it down, swung it around. I tapped under it. Of course, I spread the jaws open to try to get this open, and I have a socket for that. A few of these. Stuck it in the middle, tried to twist, but this thing was seized in there. So I just got a chisel, tapped right up under the bushing itself, right up under here, to spread it open wide enough, and finagled it back and forth until I got it free. But needless to say, I have to do the same thing for the other side. I loosened up the second control arm, and I was able to steer the steering wheel around some, and now I got plenty of room to get to the opposite side. So we'll spray some lubrication in there, try to tap a chisel, open this up, and pop this joint out as well. So this seemed to have worked well. I can rotate this around, and as you can see, this is loose, and the whole joint is pivoting around. So now it's just a matter of tapping it up a little bit. There's still a little bit of corrosion around it, and when I tap it up, that should break free some of that corrosion and pop this arm on out, and make sure I do it without damaging my brand new replacement fender. So I started making some pretty good progress. I just put my hardware back up in the top so I don't lose it. I took loose the bolt for here that's supporting the bottom part of the strut, loosen up this bolt for my sway bar link, and I took the bottom bolt out that supports this bracket, this arm that holds the strut. So I tapped down the chisel. I used my spreader socket right here to spread it open. It worked fairly okay, but it seemed to work a little bit better by just tapping down a chisel in the center of it. And by doing that, I'm able to wiggle this down pretty easy. As you can see, it's just falling right out with the chisel. So that works pretty good. See, it's loose now. So now it's just a matter of me taking out the 4 bolts at the top, and I should be able to drop this whole assembly and pull out the upper strut. We have our whole strut assembly out, but just so you don't make the same mistake I made, it'd be a good idea to loosen up this axle nut first. Loosen this up, tap forward the axle so that way it can come in, and you don't pop your axle out of the CV joint like I did. You can see that the boot is struggling really tight. I do have extra clips. I'll pop this clip off so that way I can relieve the stress off the boot and I don't split the CV boot. And I do have a jack stand supporting this assembly, but with the stand underneath, I wasn't able to drop this down low enough to get the strut out. And when I pulled the jack stand from under, it dropped everything down and pulled on that CV. So learn from mistakes. It's not like I do this every day, and possibly this is the first time that I ever changed the suspension on a B series, well, B9 S5. I did the S4 before on my older style chassis, but live and learn. It was a tremendous amount of sand and debris that was just pouring from off the top of this housing. So definitely have safety goggles on and watch your eyes when doing a task like this. So I will clip that ring right here and free up the stress. We'll pop this back in place. I wanted to loosen this up, but I don't have the support from my strut housing. So if I go to try to loosen this axle nut up, all it's going to do is twist this whole assembly, even if I wedge something in here. And of course, definitely we're going to upgrade to possibly 4 or 6 piston calipers and rotors in the future, soon future. So that's why I don't want to waste my money right now and just buy some standard rotors when I'm going to upgrade. And I actually do have a few sets that I'm going to upgrade for the TT, and we'll get to that later. But for the most part, let's go ahead and focus on the suspension. I use some diagonal cutters and cut off this clamp and push the CV boot back forward, so that way I'm not straining it, and we'll pop that back in when we get everything assembled and put back in position, raise it up, and pop that back into place. But it's getting late and it is very dark outside. We'll call that a night and pick back up on this tomorrow morning and start with the installation of the KWs.